I'm joined today with Mel, and I just want to have a conversation with her about email marketing and where it's going in 2026. I've got a few questions down so we can just go through them and make sure that we stay on track. So let's get started with recently, everyone's kind of been saying that email marketing is dying or dead, but nearly 5 billion people are still using it.
I mean, it has actually been recorded that 88% of people check their emails every single day. So how can something be dead if people are actively going onto it every day? People keep their lives on it. Your holiday bookings are on it. Your receipts are on it. Your important information is always on it. So people are actively checking it. So if people are actively checking it, like I said, how can something be dead?
How has their average subscriber's relationship with their inbox actually changed in the last few years?
So I'd say it's a lot stricter. People aren't trusting as much. But that's not a negative. In no means is that a negative. It just means that the customers who actually want to hear from you are going to be highly engaged and have high intent, which is incredibly important. But yeah, I'd probably just say the change in trust, and people don't just rely on everything they receive. We've got the increase of spam, scammers, just slightly changing an email and leading to people losing a lot. But I don't think that should be seen as a complete negative. I think us as email marketers should just learn what to do, how to gain people's trust, and that's where kind of compliance comes in.
Yeah, I think, well, with that, I guess then just the quality of your content is kind of forced to improve in a way.
Yeah, the quality of your content, personalisation as well. People are a bit more trusting when you know the details about them that a random person is probably not going to know.
Okay, so what would you say are the most important factors for companies to look for in email marketing in 2026 then?
Yeah, so first, straight off the bat, I'd say compliance, making sure you are compliant in the way that you're getting people's emails, but also the way that you're sending them out. Kind of verifying your domain, your email address, things like that are really important just to keep track of, especially with a lot of inboxes tightening down on rules. Obviously GDPR is not new, we know it's a thing. Just making sure everything that you do aligns with those rules that are set in place. Also AI, it's been mentioned so much. It's a big thing. So making sure, everything's embedded with AI now. So making sure that you can use it, using it for data. I know like Klaviyo have integrations and things that kind of use AI to give your data in a like a human friendly way.
I just had a thought as well, actually. You know how some emails have like they do a sort of AI summary of what's in an email?
Yes.
Is that affected?
Yeah, it can affect it. I think luckily with our emails, you want them, that kind of links on to the next point, which is crafting engaging, informative, precise emails. That is the most important thing. You want to make sure your intent is obvious. Straight away from the subject line, the preview, people need to know exactly what they're opening, or else they're not going to open it. But that is more important, especially when considering that little AI summary that you're given. That now kind of tells people what the email is before they even open it. So if the AI can't answer that, people aren't going to open.
And to sort of summarize it in the correct way.
Yeah, it's just being completely accurate and precise, which we should all be doing anyway.
Yeah, but not to the extent that you have to like triple, quadruple check it.
Yeah, no, it is very true. But in the way that I see it is, we want to make sure we're completely honest with the people that are receiving the emails. So if AI is kind of giving the wrong answer, then we're not being completely honest and we're not being straight to the point. We are kind of misleading in a way.
Yeah.
So that's a positive that I see from it.
Yeah, it's sort of, again, it all just comes back to the quality of the content is just having to upgrade that
Yeah,
bit.
definitely.
That's a good point, actually. So I just had a thought as well. Like, do you know if any of your emails or how many of your emails go into people's spam? And if so, like, is there a way to sort of fight against that or?
Yeah, so we get given a couple of percentages from this marketing, these email marketing platforms like Klaviyo and MailChimp. We get bounced and we also get spam complaint. So we can see if things are actually landing in people's inboxes. And we can also see when people are complaining about it that it's spam. Obviously, if your open rate and click rate is considerably lower than the industry averages, you know that it's in spam.
Yeah.
And you should be doing something to fix that.
Is there anything that stands out that it's like, yeah, I know how to tackle that? Or...
Making sure you're compliant with whole verification things. They are, I find, very important. Cleaning your list. If you're sending to a lot of kind of stale contacts, it's going to look negative on you. People aren't engaging. Try and focus on your engaged audiences, not the ones that would consider what you're sending spam.
Yeah. So if you weren't compliant, say, what are the real world consequences of that?
Yeah, so obviously with GDPR, that is a strict law. You have to do it, or else there are strict like legal repercussions. I mean, we hear all about these companies that have gone to court because they've been selling people's information. And you don't want to be one of those.
You don't want to be one of those.
You don't want to be one of those.
Absolutely not.
And if you are using people's information incorrectly via email marketing, it will reflect on your email marketing. You will get terrible open rates, terrible click rates, massive spam complaints, massive unsubscribes. So you know this list isn't the most accurate. You want to make sure that people have subscribed, but not only have subscribed, but have done like a double opt-in. So that's when you will have the little tick box, but then also you'll be sent an email right after confirming your subscription. That way you know that your list is the most ideal audience for you.
Like they're going to be active with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. So is there any tension between personalization and data privacy, or do they kind of go hand in hand?
Absolutely go hand in hand. I think the only way you can add personalization is by handling people's data. But you need to make sure that you are receiving the data compliantly.
Yeah.
Is that word?
Yeah, compliantly.
Compliance, yeah. So that is if you've got a little contact form and you give people add their names, they've chosen to do that.
Yeah.
You're doing the double opt-in as well. They've confirmed all the information. You can even use their purchase data to create that, and that's all allowed within the subscribing. But it's just not being too personal, but adding that personal level.
What do you do to stop it from making people feel like they're being stalked? Because I think it can get to that point.
Yeah, that's where I'd say timing comes into play. You don't want to spam people, because if people are getting spams all the time saying, oh, you've looked at this, you've looked at that, slightly stalkerish.
Get a bit freaked.
But if you are looking at a product that something kind of takes your attention away from it, or you're a parent and your kid comes running up asking for help, sending that email later on at the right time can just reintroduce it to your brain. So people don't really view it as stalking. They view it as just you're helping them in a way. You're reminding them of something that they were doing already. But yeah, it's the consistency. You don't want to be spamming people, because that does appear quite stalkerish.
Just a bit, yeah. So where specifically then, apart from sort of, we've been over AI summaries and things like that, where else do you think AI really helps when it comes to email marketing, like the creative process or whatever? And then are there places where you'd say maybe it's a bit overhyped, like actually it's better without?
I'd say kind of with a lot of content, a lot of people, your inbox is personal to you. So having quite generic kind of AI like text doesn't always resonate with people. They want something a bit more personal. They want something a bit more with a bit more personality. So using it too much for the content of the emails, not recommended. Same with images. A lot of people can see very clearly on their emails, especially if they've got them on desktop and on mobile. So if you've got images that look slightly off, people are going to pick that up.
Not great. Like the other day we saw literally one of like a dog, and you could so clearly see that it was AI, and you just scroll past it because it's like,
So exactly, you got to think about how someone's going to react seeing it. But one of the best ways is through the AI personalization. So obviously, me as a person with the functionalities on kind of Klaviyo and MailChimp, sometimes you can't always do the most beneficial flows, automations. And AI can, and what I've seen it done with other companies is be put in place so it can kind of take everyone's data, take an amalgamation of everyone's information, and very specifically target campaigns to them and flows to them.
What's a flow? Can you describe that?
So a flow is a email campaign that is triggered from an action. So it could be you subscribing, you receiving a welcome email, you've been added into a flow. Or if you add something into your basket but you don't complete the purchase, you go off. And then maybe 2 hours later, you receive an email saying, oh, you left this in your basket. Your action of adding into the cart but not completing a transaction has put you into a flow.
Can AI replace the strategic thinking behind a campaign, do you think? Or is it always going to be, human at the wheel and then just sort of using AI as a tool?
I think it's going to always be human at the wheel because, again, emails are very personal. You have to understand human behavior. And another thing is a lot of strategy around email is based off company kind of needs. So AI can't just decide what campaign it's doing. You still need to get together and be like, okay, we want to push this service, we want to push that service, which I think is so important. And human behavior changes a lot. And we understand kind of external factors, whereas a lot of AIs in these platforms, they're only made to do one task. So they can't understand what's going on in the real world and why you should maybe not do this or maybe you should do that. Which I think is really important.
When you start describing it like that, it's sort of, it becomes clear that AI, for some things, it's amazing and it really sort of simplifies a process and everything, but there are still, there are so many ways to go with it, and it's just like, oh yeah, when you actually sort of get into the details of what you need to do, what you still need to do, and what companies still need to do in regards to this, at least it's sort of like, we're nowhere near AI ever really taking it over completely.
No, which is why we do say it is an amazing tool. But we need that human mind to kind of use the tool.
So what's the difference between a brand using AI well versus just one using it to send more emails faster?
So one of the big changes in email marketing over the last 10 years is we don't batch and send anymore. Personalization is key. Targeting people is key. So using it to send emails faster is not going to benefit your brand. It's probably going to lead to you sending spam. It's going to lead to negative open rates, bounce rates, because they are unable to comprehend when enough is enough.
So sort of taking a bit of a left turn here. If you could only fix one thing about most brands' emails, what would it be?
It's crazy to say this like email marketing, but I mean, our own email campaigns, what I've noticed is that not just kind of pushing people to convert is actually a lot more beneficial for you. Sending people to pages where they might find more content or an article to expand on it could help that conversion. Because from an email, we don't want to make them miles and miles long. So we can't include all the information that someone could possibly need to be able to convert. So sending them off to a page on site with more information about the service, the product, anything like that is absolutely beneficial.
Yeah, and I guess that makes sense as well because it's like just increasing the chance of them then seeing like your other services and sort of it just sort of snowballs into.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that we're also finding very important is personas. So it's understanding the customers who are finding your product and maybe even converting, and understanding them is understanding which ones are willing to just go straight in. Oh, you know what? I'm going to book in a meeting with you guys. Or the ones that are still a little bit skeptical and just need a bit more information, just need to understand you as a business maybe, or need to understand the product a bit more, the service a bit more. And then that's where the on-site content comes in, just to expand on that topic. So it all works hand in hand.
So it's like every time you go into sort of creating a new email, are you thinking personas? Like you have to sort of direct this towards a specific persona?
Yeah. So especially when it's service based, you have to think about a persona in mind. Luckily with emails, we can target multiple personas in different in the same email. That could be through CTAs, through content sections, adding a bit more about the company, like our story, about us, why choose us. That targets a different kind of persona than the ones that are like, oh, here's a list of the benefits. They target two different personas. One cares about ethics, the company, the background. The other one just wants to hear his features and benefits.
So subject lines, how much do they kind of move the needle, and what are the biggest mistakes that people tend to make?
Well, it's kind of links to something I said before about like vagueness and AI not being able to understand. I think that's the same with subjects. You need to be straight to the point. If there's an offer, it needs to have some kind of mention of the offer. If it's about a service, you need to kind of mention the service. You can't be kind of vague to intrigue people too much. Clickbait doesn't work anymore.
No.
Why would you do it for your emails?
People don't want to be tricked. So
Yeah.
I think that's another thing with the rise of AI. It's just like you say, everyone's become 1,000 times more skeptical.
Yeah.
So.
And then also another thing that links to is making them too long. Like on mobile especially, like majority of people on email view it mobile first. So you need to make sure that you are testing it on a actual phone. Like I'll always, when I'm about to send out any email, I'll always test it, send it to myself, and see how the subject actually looks when I first look at my phone and see the notification. If it cuts off the most important parts, I need to cut that down. The most important part needs to be at the start, and it needs to be very obvious what it's about. And I think a lot of people are still missing that, doing subject lines that are way too long. Yeah, I think that's the most.
Do you think
part that I've noticed?
Do you find it difficult to sort of balance being concise with being meaningful? Like, is that often a issue?
Yeah. It's kind of a. It's kind of like a double-edged sword in a way. Like, you really want to do one, you have to think about the other. But I think they don't have to be fully formed sentences.
No, just a bit like not just sort of random keywords, but kind of.
That's why sometimes I like I think it's always good to turn around to someone and go, okay, if you read this, what would you think? Do some actual A/B testing, which is another thing you can also do, and it is definitely beneficial, absolutely, and that is A/B testing. So what A/B testing does is it splits your audience and sends a different kind of content to one and then different kind of content to the other, so you can test the subject lines and stuff. And that is a way where you can see how your audience reacts to the subjects and the content as well. You can just change the content around as well, but that will really help you understand your customers, because again, email marketing is different across all sectors, all businesses. It is very singular to their audience, so that's where testing is so important.
So what does a healthy unsubscribe rate look like, and what should brands actually be worried about?
So it's about 0.04, something like that. That's the kind of unsubscribe rate you want. very, very small.
Is that hard to achieve?
It's not, but you need to anticipate, if you're sending to quite a stale audience, you need to anticipate there is going to be a period of time where your unsubscribe rate is going to be high, but it's a good high. So it is kind of cleaning your list in a way, and that's what you want to do. And that's why you can do a flow for unengaged audiences, for example. This will clean out your list with a lot of people who haven't engaged in your email in such a long time. Sending out an email saying, do you actually want to be subscribed, basically, just helps clean them out.
That you do want to get rid of that, because it's like just dragging down your metrics then.
Exactly.
How often should a company be like sort of reviewing and changing their strategy for email marketing?
I would say on a very regular basis. Things change. I mean, new functionalities come in place. You can add different things to your emails that you weren't before. I think human behavior changes. So you should always be looking to update, review, and think about your strategy. But also with A/B testing and kind of what's going on in the business internally, the strategy will change. A/B testing will show you exactly what needs to change, and for your email marketing, and then what your business internal decide what you need from your email marketing, and that will change the strategy.
So do you think that AI filtered inboxes are going to make email marketing even harder, or does it actually like reward brands that are doing it properly?
I think absolutely it will reward brands doing it properly. I mean, we've seen AI come into a lot of different channels, and the brands that are kind of molding their strategy to match what AI is looking for are the ones winning. And we need to not ignore it, not pretend it's not going to happen. We need to just adapt and overcome. Similar to what I've been saying throughout this chat, like, we need to not see things as like a threat. We need to see it as an opportunity for us to make sure we're sending people things correctly, compliantly. Again with that word. And just ensuring that our content is as relevant as it could possibly be.
I did think actually that it would be so cool if it's like, if a company or whatever tracked sort of, you made a pretty consistent purchase, say you purchased a makeup product pretty consistently every few months or whatever, if they would send through an email obviously saying sort of, what about this, have you considered this, and you could actually purchase it on the email. Quite cool.
That would be amazing, and you can pretty much do it now.
Can you?
Yeah, if you wanted to. you could do that now.
You could purchase it on the email.
Maybe not on the email, actually, from the email, but actually purchasing on the email, that would be a game changer.
There you go.
That would be a game changer.
There you go.
I think, to be fair, that could possibly be the next thing. In the future, we're seeing like the rise of kind of AI agents, and they're making the purchases for people. So I don't see why you wouldn't get that on your email as well. Like, the email's making the purchase for you.
It just feels like a pretty natural next step. Like you say, you can already, there is like this sort of buy now or whatever button takes you to the page to then purchase, but like, to actually just be able to do that whole function,
all of it.
Make it all simpler,
make my job a lot easier.
Then email is definitely going nowhere, and it's only going to get more and more interactive. Like you say, it's only going to grow. It's just about, like you say, learning how to adapt and everything. So it's absolutely not dead by any means.
No, adapting strategies, adapting how you speak to people, adapting your audiences even. It's not going anywhere.